Welcome to Sense of Style. My name is Stuart, and I am a blind buy addict. Over the last 5 years, I've spent many thousands of dollars purchasing fragrances that I have never smelled before in my life. I own over 300 fragrances, 90% of which were completely blind bought. But chances are, if you watch a lot of fragrance YouTube, you'll have done the same thing too. Why do we do this to ourselves? I think the answer for me comes when I order a fragrance that I've smelled before. It comes in the mail. I open the box. I spray it on. I sniff it. I'm like, yep, that's right. It's not a surprise. I think the surprise aspect of blind buying is a huge part of its appeal. It's literally like opening a present. With all that said, that puts a lot of pressure on me. I'm doing a video recommending blind buys. So what I have to do is balance fragrances that are going to be appealing, but at the same time, not boring. And that's a tough thing to do because often those two things overlap. Let's see how I do. Fragrance number 1 is Valentino Uomo, Born in Roma, Coral Fantasy. And what I love about this fragrance as a blind buy is it comes from a really good house, Valentino, with a reputation for good performance. It comes from a very popular line. The Born in Roma line is popular. It has some vague similarities to the most popular fragrance in the line, the Intense version. However, what I love about this is it's slightly different. It's got a really weird note combination that works. It's tobacco, aromatic notes, and apple. Now, most people just pick up on, oh, it's a really nice tobacco apple fragrance. But the aromatic notes play a role too. It's a combination of lavender, sage, and geranium. Those three work really well together, and it's a totally different feel. You probably won't notice the aromatics. You will notice the tobacco and the apple. Now, it has cardamom in it as well, but it's that tobacco red apple combo. That's what you're going to pick up on, and that's something you probably haven't smelled before. In the fragrance community, this isn't considered to be like the most popular fragrance in the line. However, it does have a higher Fragrantica rating than Born in Roma Intense. And the perfumer of this fragrance, the lead perfumer, was one of two perfumers that created Creed Aventus and Spice Bomb Extreme. So this guy really knows what he's doing when it comes to making high quality and popular fragrances. Chances are you're going to like it. Fragrance number 2 is Tom Ford's Noir Extreme. Now, when it comes to recommending like really expensive blind buys like this, I got my work cut out for me. However, when I first tried this, I had just purchased something at a retail store, and I rarely do that. So I spent a lot of money, and I was really happy with my purchase. But I stayed in the store, and I sampled a couple of fragrances, and when I sampled this, my whole mood just deflated because this was so much better than what I had just purchased. So that's how good this is to me. Now, mind you, it's an Oriental style sweet and spicy fragrance, so you have to like that first. But if you do, this is a guaranteed blind buy. This came out in 2015. It was one of the very first gourmandy style fragrances for men. It's got a kulfi note, and that is an Indian ice cream that is creamy and nutty. There's also vanilla in it. There's some spicy cardamom and nutmeg, and then you got a nice powdery sandalwood base. But don't let the name Noir Extreme fool you, because when it comes to projection here, this is not like something like red tobacco that's like 10 feet of projection. The projection is not extreme. It's more like 2 or 3 feet. But don't get me wrong, it's still really good. It's one of those fragrances that'll project 2 or 3 feet for 5 or 6 hours. You're really going to notice it, but the person has to be in your close personal space. Just don't expect something extreme, like super strong, that's going to blow people away. But the scent itself is fabulous. Fragrance number 3 is Emporio Armani's Stronger With You, Absolutely. So I've tried a number of fragrances in this line, but a reason I like this one is pretty simple. It's the booze. This has got a really nice rum note. Like the core of the line is essentially vanilla and chestnut, and that's all here. It's also got a nice balsamic quality with the Divana here, but I love the rum because the rum gives it a masculine feel, so it's a little bit different, a little bit outside the box. I had the original Strong With You. I felt there was something missing. The rum here really completed the fragrance. One word of caution for the Stronger With You line. I purchased a fragrance in the line this morning, and then I went to Fragrantica, and I went to the bottom to that "This fragrance smells like" section, and much to my horror, every single fragrance it smelled like was in the Stronger With You line. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that. Look, I understand that, that a lot of this is marketing, and so they make small tweaks and the differences. But you can take it to extremes. I think this particular line is bad at that. This fragrance itself, I love it and I totally recommend it. But just be careful out there, folks. Fragrance number 4 is one of the best blind buys on the market. It's Givenchy Gentleman EDP. And I love this as a blind buy because it has something for everybody. It has a prominent, warm, spicy accord. That's a super popular accord for men. Cinnamon, black pepper, and cloves. Then it's got a lot of vanilla, and that's an absolute must for modern fragrances. So it's not too much vanilla, it's noticeable, it's there, it's perfectly balanced. The third one might be the most important, though, because this fragrance has iris, but it doesn't have tons of iris. It doesn't have a lipsticky feel that a lot of people dislike. And for that reason, I think this would be a great starter iris fragrance because it's there, but it's not overwhelming. And then finally, you've got a nice, warm, resinous Divana in the base as well. So you've got all kinds of different elements that appeal to a whole bunch of different people. And it's got one of the best dry downs in all of designer perfumery. Fragrance number 5 is Versace's Eros Flame. And I've said repeatedly on this channel that I really like contrasts in fragrances. But what I've never seen before is the perfumer come out and say, yes, I was going for a contrast. But Olivier Precieux, the perfumer here, he decided that he was going to make a fragrance that was both smooth and sweet, but sharp and spicy as well. And he pulled it off. So you've got the smoothness of the vanilla and the tonka. And then you've got the sharpness of the citrus here. And he even emphasized the sharpness. Normally citrus is quite sharp, mandarin and lemon, but he also added Cannato, which is an Italian fruit, citrus fruit that's kind of bitter. So it's a sharp, bitter citrus. And then you've also got the spiciness with pepperwood, which is an aroma chemical, and then black pepper. And so that you've got plenty of contrast here. And this is a citrus vanilla fragrance. And it's funny, but in order to appreciate how good this is, you have to try a fragrance that didn't pull it off. This is Dunhill Desire Red. I've had this for a while, and this is a citrus vanilla. And in the open, that's what you get. And it just doesn't work. Somehow, in the dry down, this turns into bubblegum and it becomes a really pleasant fragrance. But off the top, and this is a cheap fragrance, off the top, it's a really cheap combination of citrus and vanilla that just is awful. This, however, works. Fragrance number 6 is very under the radar. It's Fragrance World's Hard Wood. Terrible name, amazing fragrance. So this is a clone of Mahogany Woods by Bath & Body Works. Now, normally, a Bath & Body Works fragrance is a pretty cheap house. You're not normally going to clone something like that. But the combination of cognac, vanilla, and woods here is just fantastic. And so Fragrance World thought they would do it. And now this is actually hard to get. Mahogany Woods is gone. Now, I had someone in my last video say, oh, Mahogany Woods is back. I went to my local store. No, it isn't. It's now called Mahogany Teak Wood. That's something different entirely. Mahogany Woods, gone. This one will come and go. Fragrance World fragrances, a lot of clones. They do really well. They sell out, and then they'll get them back. If you run into this, really cheap fragrance, I think it's $30 to $40. It is fantastic. Now, it's not super like high quality. It is a clone after all. And the presentation is not good at all, but it's the juice you're after here. The juice is phenomenal. So you've got mahogany wood, sandalwood, vanilla and amber, and the cognac, and it just works together really well. The performance is very solid. I would not recommend a fragrance unless it had solid performance. And as I said, it's slightly synthetic, but you do expect that from clone. But the scent here is different. It's fantastic. Fragrance number 7 is Wanted by Night by Azzaro. This is another easy blind buy suggestion. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of this one. Quentin Bish actually was involved in the making of this fragrance, although I don't think he was the lead perfumer. But this to me is the one that really put Azzaro on the map for me. It went to like another level. So it's a cinnamon fragrance. That's what I pick up most, is fruity. There's a lot of sweetness and there's tobacco as well. It's got solid performance. It's an Azzaro, but it's a little bit higher quality. It's not super cheap anymore because it has a really good name to it. And yeah, this one, I mean, it was such an icon for a while. Now the most wanted is kind of taken over a little bit, but this is still an exceptional fragrance and definitely a blind buy. Finally, we have Club de Nuit Precieux 1 by Armaf, and this is a clone of Absolute Aventus. Now, I've read a lot of comments recently on this fragrance, and people are like really cutting it up, and I don't understand it. I think it's because this one was so hyped at the beginning, and then now everyone has like crazy high expectations. Just remember what it is. It's an Armaf fragrance. It's a clone, and it's cloning something a little bit different, but the performance here is really solid. It's a very pleasant scent. It's extremely versatile because it's an Aventus-like scent, but it's got some sweetness. It's something that I really like, and I think if you keep your expectations in check, you'll really enjoy it. But I think a lot of people, like from what I was reading, they were expecting to get Absolute Aventus. They're like, well, it's synthetic. It's still an Armaf. There is going to be a synthetic quality. But as far as Armaf fragrances go, as far as Aventus-style fragrances go, this one is actually my favorite. I think what I really like about it is the caramel note. It's got ambroxan, caramel, and amber. But the caramel really stands out to me. It's got 4 fruity notes, including pineapple. It is Aventus after all. It's got very solid performance, and the price is reasonable. It's actually come down from where it was. But yeah, for a while there last year, it was really hype, but just don't expect Absolute Aventus. Just expect a really pleasant Aventus experience with a little bit of sweetness. So anyway, hopefully you guys like this. Hopefully I do okay, and you don't buy some of these and just hate me for it. I've done that before. I do think though that for the most part, when I'm buying based on a YouTube influencer that I watch regularly, I'm usually pleasantly surprised. And really, that's the key to blind buying is to be surprised. You don't want to be negatively surprised, and for the most part, I'm not, and hopefully that's the case for you too. Anyway, thanks for watching.